Good morning, everybody. Welcome to City Hall, welcome to Council Chambers, and welcome to a meeting of the Los Angeles City Council for today, Wednesday, September 28th, 2005. The City Council meets every Tuesday, Wednesday, and Friday at 10 a.m., and we are open to the public. We invite you to join us for our meetings. For members of the public unable to attend our council meetings, we can also be viewed live on your cable station, Channel 35, or via webcast from the city's homepage, or heard via council phone. Colleagues, the time is now past 10:20 a.m. We have 7 members present, 3 shy of a quorum, but we also have a couple of very special presentations scheduled for today. Let me recognize Ms. Perry for our first presentation.
Would everyone who voted for Pedro please join me at the podium, please? And I think Mr. Parks is on his way down.
Llegará dentro de muy poco.
And Noel, where's Noel?
¿Dónde se encuentra Noel?
Come on. Don't try to hide. And hopefully Mr. Garcetti can join us in a moment. You want to ask your brother to come up too? Carlos, come up? Yeah, tell him to come up. Where is he? Okay. And Jody, if she wants to come up.
Jody?
Okay.
Hey, twin.
Where's the twin? I'm sure that many of you recognize the famous face standing next to me on my left. And I know Mr. Parks will be down here in a minute, but I wanted to take this opportunity to welcome a very special person. His name is Efren Ramirez, and he is one of the stars of the movie Napoleon Dynamite. Let's give him a very big hand. So we're all here in politics, and we all are interested in politics, and I know many of us in the building and beyond have fallen in love with Efren's character from the movie. His character's name is Pedro. He was the young person who befriends the misfit, Napoleon, and ultimately becomes the president of his high school. I know that council staffers here in the chamber and even some of my council colleagues have found the movie and his performance to be both humorous and memorable. Fans of the film and followers of politics will always remember Pedro's slogan when he ran for school president and the deadpan expression on his face when he said it. May I ask you to say it now?
If you vote for me, all of your wildest dreams will come true. Thank you.
It was an inspiring and stirring speech. But what was really impressive, yes, Mr. President, I'm sorry.
I was just going to ask if you can do the Napoleon dance to follow that up.
What was really impressive is what Efren did in working with Napoleon in the movie. He earned money. He used the money to buy his parents, Martha and Carlos Ramirez. I guess your parents aren't here, right?
No,
okay.
They're both at work.
All right, and I'm going to introduce his brother in a minute. This is his twin brother, Carlos, to buy a house in the area. Efren is a native Los Angelino whose career in acting began at a young age. By the age of 13, he began training at the Theater of Arts, where he performed at the Hollywood Bowl, the Complex Theater, the Tiffany Mini Theater on Sunset Boulevard while working on films such as Touchstone's Kazam and Paramount's Jury Duty. He continued his training at the Whole Theater Company, performing improv at the White Fire Theater and the Ice House in Pasadena. And I'm going to ask him to speak for a few minutes, and hopefully Mr. Parks will be here by the time we are through. And I want to introduce again, his twin brother, Carlos, who's also beginning his career in acting as well. Am I correct?
That's correct.
Good. So if you will, Mr. Ramirez, please share some of your wisdom with us.
Well, I don't have much to say. It's one of the lines from Napoleon Dynamite. And, well, I must say, it feels so great to be here, to think of who'd have known. There I was living in Lincoln Heights, and living in this neighborhood, they were filming a TV show there, and I remember my twin brother and I went to Rite Aid to get some ice cream. And, you know, we saw that they were filming and we wanted to be a part of it and didn't know what it was like to be in the entertainment industry. Then we started to ask questions and we started to work as extras. And we realized, wow, this can happen, but we didn't know how. You know, my father, you know, I love my parents. My parents, they provided us to go to private schools. And we were so enforced with education that, you know, of course, you know, as kids, we would argue, wanting to know, well, I want to be like everybody else. But then my father would always tell me, and I always tell my brothers, well, be different, be somebody in your life. I don't know what that is, but, you know, go after whatever you want to dream. And I told him, Dad, I want to be an actor. So it was my father who actually put me in acting schools. And there I was, being the youngest student, learning Shakespeare and learning, you know, Patrick Shanley, learning Odettes, and learning poetry, to, you know, all the fireside poets, to Edgar Allan Poe, to Emily Dickinson. And to me, I cannot support education enough, and to me, I thank my parents for that. You know, growing up in the neighborhood, Los Angeles, I've lived in so many different neighborhoods, from Lincoln Heights to Highland Park to Santa Monica to Culver City to Pomona to now Tahunga and Burbank and North Hollywood, you know, Boyle Heights. Having this opportunity of Napoleon Dynamite, to me, it's a pleasure and my honor to be a part of somebody who can give back to the community. And what I'd like to do is like to create a scholarship for all high schools, not just only in Los Angeles, but from the West Coast all the way to the East Coast. So in turn, it'd be a scholarship nationwide. I'd like to also work with charity events as well as fundraisers in regards to so many things that are happening now. But to me, I'd like to say to all of you, thank you. Thank you for making all this happen. And thanks for today. Thank you, and God bless you.
We have a couple of members who want to say a few words, beginning with a councilman who's got skills. Councilmember Tony Cardenas.
Thank you very much, Council President. Efren, right? Thank you, Efren, for coming today and showing us that you're just a regular guy with an ambition, with a dream, and you're living your dream, but really what you just described a little while ago, you're living the dream of your parents and your grandparents and everybody else that came before you, right? Basically, they said, live your dreams. Your parents are working folk. They work hard every day. Believe me, I think you're living their dreams as well as your own, so I congratulate you for having the will to want to go ahead and do that. And I mentioned that because when I saw you here, I recognized your face, and when I recognized the T-shirt vote for Pedro, I said, you know what, if I told my kids, if I had the chance of getting the autograph of the governor of California, or Pedro and Napoleon Dynamite, which one do you want? And they're going to say yours. So I'm asking you right now, I'll give you the keys to the city for your autograph. What do you say, huh? Well, thank God I'm not allowed to give away the keys to the city, but you know what I'm saying. It would mean a lot to me. It would mean a lot to me. But I just wanted to focus focus on one thing that you mentioned, which is very important, that I think the kids who are watching who are going to be able to see this. I think this is going to be the #1 rated council presentation amongst children when they find out that you are here today, by the time they air this on Channel 35. But what I'd like them to hear you say once again is, you wanted to be an actor, right? And then all of a sudden you talked about some great literary works. Did you read them?
Yes.
Can you mention some of them again, please?
Emily Dickinson, Edgar Allan Poe, Henry Wadsworth Longfellow, Waldo Emerson. To me, it's
Okay.
It's
Kids
heavily-
kids are going to be asked by their teachers to probably read that sometime in their K through 12 career. But what I'd like you to tell the kids at this time is, did you enjoy reading them?
I did. It was, I think, one of the two great writers. And as a matter of fact, my birthday is coming up on Sunday. And my twin brother actually gave me 2 books. He gave me the complete works of Shakespeare and the complete works of Edgar Allan Poe. When it comes to Shakespeare, to me, it's a completely different language, you know, and it's a challenge. I've always been known to, you know, confront challenges in my life, and to think of Shakespeare, to think of something as difficult as that, to be able to say, but soft, what light through yonder window breaks? It is the east, and Juliet is the sun. Arise, fair sun, and kill the envious moon, that thou her maid are far more fair than she. Be not her maid, for she is envious. Or to think of Edgar Allan Poe, the Raven. Once upon a midnight dreary, while we pondered weak and weary, over many a quaint and curious volume of forgotten lore, while we nodded nearly napping, suddenly there came a tapping, as of someone gently rapping on my chamber door, only this and nothing more. I could go on and on, I could even... Thank you.
Thank you for demonstrating that, and I don't think what you just did was an act. I think that was you, right? The passion that you just exuded wasn't an act. That was you, correct? The reason why I say that is because all too often kids who grow up in disadvantaged neighborhoods, and I'm going to say this from my vantage point, when my 10th grade counselor told me not to think about going to college, when my 12th grade teacher laughed in my face when I told him I finally got accepted to an engineering department, laughed in my face, all too often these young people are being told the wrong thing by people who just don't get it. So the reason why I'm glad that you demonstrated that far beyond my wildest dreams of what you were going to say, I think it's very important that young people understand, don't believe the negative, don't think you can't, realize that you can. All you have to do is want to, all you have to do is open that book, and all of a sudden your wildest dreams will start to come true. And maybe you'll be in a movie saying these simple little kooky lines that actually allow you to buy your parents a house. Those are the kinds of things that make dreams come true in this country, and that's what I think is so important that children understand. It's not about listening to people who tell you dumb things about what you can't be. It's about people like you, Efren, who actually can prove to young people, this is for real. This is what you will be. All you got to do is open a book. All you got to do is do your homework. All you got to do is respect your parents. It's the basic, simple things in life that make you the star that you are. And believe me, I wanted your autograph for my kids. Now I want your autograph for me. Congratulations.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you.
Gosh.
My pleasure meeting you. Sure, very good.
So we've been joined by Councilmember Parks.
Oh, I'd like to say, I have kids 7, 10, and 12, and even my 21-year-old thinks it's a great movie. I've seen your movie 10 times. So I'm a fan of yours as well as my children.
Sure, thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. President. Sorry, we're running a little late. Mr. Garcetti runs a real tough housing committee. Let me just continue and thank Mrs. Perry for really putting this together and continuing the resolution and commendation with a brief pause from when she stopped. But we also want to commend Efren that in dealing with finishing after 2 years at the Meisner Conservatory program, that he then starred in a variety of movies, Missing Pieces opposite the late James Colburn, The Race with Cliff Robinson and CCH Pounder and Paul Rodriguez, and Delivering Milo with Albert Finney. His other films include Welcome to L.A., Night Crew, Swallow, Dance, and rave.
y rave.
And he also has
Y también
extensive
él
TV shows, including a
muchos
reoccurring
programas de
part in
televisión,
Disney, Even
partes en
Stevens, and
Disney,
Fox
Even
Boston
Stevens,
Public. And as a
Fox
guest,
Boston Public y
starred in
como
ER, The District, The George Lopez Show,
Participó
The
en
Jimmy Kimmel
ER,
Show, and
James
Judging
Lopez,
Amy.
Jimmy Kimmel y Judging
He
Amy.
recently starred in the remake of the Alfred Hitchcock Mr. and Mrs. Smith with Brad Pitt
Mr. and Mrs.
and
Smith with Brad Pitt.
Angelina Jolie. You got a number of stories you can tell us about that. Oh, sorry, maybe Letty.
Before Brad Pitt, there was.
Also opposite Burt Reynolds in Fishes and Barrels in the
Burt
production of
Reynolds, Fishes and Barrels,
Cuba Libre.
son de Cuba
In
Libre.
fact, his films collectively have
Muchos
grossed
sus
close to
películas
$100 million to date. In his spare time, if he has some, he's among other notables things as the black belt in martial art. He's a music composer and also a singer, a tenor. I'm pleased to be here with Mrs. Perry and to welcome Mr. Ramirez to council, recognize his work and talent, and thought it appropriate to ask him to come to council as today is part of the city's continuing celebration of Latino Heritage Month. I want to say thank you for your great performance and being a great role model.
Felicitaciones y gracias por ser un gran ejemplo.
I just wanted all of you to know that I have a photograph out of his scrapbook of him and his brother on my desk every day. You serve as an inspiration to me as an elected official.
So congratulations and thank you very much.
Muchas gracias
And we want to thank you for the cake you left on our doorstep this morning.
por el pastel que dejaste en nuestra puerta esta mañana.
Ms. Han for a brief introduction.
Thank you, Mr. President. We have another group of stars here today visiting us from Pepperdine University. I'd like to introduce Professor Williams and his 19 freshman students who are here today. These students are taking Dr. Williams' new class called Social Action and Justice. They're here visiting us in City Hall, and then they have a whole lot of activities planned. We're going to give them a tour. We think you, after this, you should go up to the Tom Bradley Tower, where it's such a clear day, I bet you can see Malibu from here. So we're just, Dr. Williams and the students, why don't you stand so we can welcome you. Dr. Williams taught my own daughter, Katie, when she was at Pepperdine, and actually my press person, Courtney Chesla, Taurus, was also taught by Dr. Williams. Thanks for being here.
Thank you, Ms. Han. For our next presentation, let me recognize Councilmember Cardenas.
Concejal Cárdenas para la siguiente presentación.
Thank you very much, Council President.
Muchas gracias, presidente.
Steve, can you please come forward?
Steve, pase, por favor.
Right now, I'd like to
Ahorita me gustaría
present to you an issue that is very serious and very real throughout the world, and Los Angeles not only is not an exception to this horrendous activity, but this activity does exist here at a number that I'm ashamed to say is that is engrossing our community to the degree that other communities aren't faced with, and that has to do with the issue of human trafficking. It's time for the city of Los Angeles to break the chains of modern-day slavery. This modern-day slavery is the activity where human beings force other human beings into prostitution, sweatshops, and other activities against their will. That is what human trafficking is. And we're here today to recognize the Federal Department of Health and Human Services commitment to rescue and restore campaign here in Los Angeles, and together we will eradicate this horrendous crime of human trafficking that happens in Los Angeles to the tune of over an estimated 10,000 victims in any given year throughout Los Angeles City, County, and Southern California. Before we recognize the Rescue and Restore campaign as the official anti-trafficking campaign for the city of Los Angeles, I'd like to show a video of why this federal program is vital to the strength and safety of our city. I'd like to show why it's so challenging to combat this egregious crime of human trafficking. Are we ready with the video? Okay, thank you.
What is human trafficking?
When I actually don't know the definition.
According to a city report, that is a question most Los Angeles residents don't have an answer to. But it's a $9 billion industry and has surpassed the trafficking of guns.
It's happening here, and it's happening now. If you draw a 10-mile radius around this city, around the spot you're standing at right here today, you will see thousands and thousands of victims if you just look beneath the surface.
The reason why we started with this poster, because in this process, we have found out that most people in our community have absolutely no idea what human trafficking is.
The city's task force on human trafficking and child prostitution released its year-long findings on trafficking in LA, specifically sex trafficking among women and children. This includes forced prostitution and pornography, industries many residents may not even associate with human trafficking, and are stunned to find out it's happening here, not only to immigrants, but to our own citizens. The more common association of human trafficking is the illegal deportation of immigrants, who are then forced to work in sweatshops, usually surrounded by barbed wire, like you see here. But sex slavery is quickly becoming more prevalent in trafficking crimes. And according to the report, there's a huge lack of awareness, not only in the community, but among Los Angeles police officers.
Really, one basic theorem here is that we don't really believe that law enforcement knows the issues of it, can identify human trafficking when they see it. They're in fear of law enforcement. So you're not looked upon as a savior because that fear has been put into the victim. If the police come, they're going to arrest you and they're going to deport you.
As far as combating the crime, Councilman Tony Cardenas says LA hasn't even scratched the surface when it comes to modern-day slavery. And as a matter of fact, it's growing more and more with today's technology.
Perpetrators of trafficking can earn more than $30,000 per year per one victim.
The more victims, the more profitable. The task force was created by Cardenas and the Commission on the Status of Women over a year ago when federal authorities busted a South Los Angeles brothel. There they found about 15 girls being forced to prostitute themselves to pay off coyote fees. 2 of those girls were minors. It was happening in a house, in a neighborhood just like this one. Why aren't the neighbors picking up the phone? Why don't they know what's going on next door?
You can't look at something and say that's human trafficking from the public's eye all the time. Because as I said before, you're not always going to see somebody chained to a stove or a bed.
The task force report also outlines other forms of trafficking like domestic servitude, where victims from other countries are sold to people right here in the U.S. Amira and Mona, they say they were sold from Africa to a family in Beverly Hills for the price of $200 each. Under fear and coercion, they were forced to work in the household day and night for up to 16 hours a day with little food and no pay. Sexual slavery is also common in domestic servitude cases. Amira says she was 19 when she was sold to the Beverly Hills husband and wife who currently have not been charged with any crime. When asked if she was expected to do more than cook and clean, she says she would rather forget than to remember.
I don't want to remember this woman. My body is like fire, see if I remember.
It was a stranger who helped rescue these 2, just as in the case of an American woman who was domestically trafficked. Her testimony was read by her advocate.
I was taken to many states in the U.S., sold in the highest bidder at the internet.
She passed a note to a stranger at an airport who saved her from being sold to a trafficking ring in Japan. Los Angeles is a main entry point for victims like these. Being close to borders, having access to ports and LAX, it's easy for traffickers to set up rings in multiple cities. The U.S. Department of Justice estimates about 14,000 to 18,000 individuals are trafficked annually in the United States. Again, that number involves trafficked individuals, not smuggled. The difference? The use of force used in trafficking cases. But officials say even that number is severely low because of the dramatic underreporting and lack of identification of victims.
The national statistic for homicides is 16,000 a year. Now, if that's our figure for homicides, and every city of any substantial size has a homicide department, then the question is, where is our trafficking department? We need to dedicate the resources to find and solve those crimes.
And officials say LA is the right place to start, not only because it gives traffickers easy access in and out of the country, but easy access to big business.
San Fernando Valley is the pornography king of the world. For a distribution film of those, it's $50,000. For purchasing of a select group of people, it's $10,000 a film. And where do you have the capital? In LA. Where do we get the films? In Los Angeles.
Thank you. Appreciate the opportunity to show that piece of work here in these chambers because it exemplifies how integral this is in our community and how important it is that we educate the public. And the Rescue and Restore campaign educates the public on the severity and pervasiveness of the human trafficking and teaches community members on how to identify victims of modern-day slavery. And it's the City of Los Angeles that's coming together with over 22 departments that have already signed up to educate their staff and make sure that their staff are available for these classes that will start on October 14th, and after that we'll continue to have classes. And the federal government has committed that with their $10 million that they have in Washington, they will utilize those resources as long as the City of Los Angeles says that they want those resources. A question was asked earlier from a reporter, how much is the grant to the City of Los Angeles? It's not a specific number. Basically, what I describe it as a challenge grant. They're challenging the City of Los Angeles to say, if you want to educate yourself, we have the resources and we'll do that for you. And it's about time the City of Los Angeles announces to the world and to these traffickers that Los Angeles is not open for business. We will not stand for it. We're going to educate ourselves, and we're going to make sure that we identify you, put you away, and also save these victims. In addition to that, I'd like to point out that this is the largest coalition, and I applaud the City of Los Angeles for pulling together the largest coalition ever throughout this country to be willing to engage in this activity of educating itself on how to identify these traffickers and save these victims. So far, we have potentially with these departments over 36,000 employees who will be made available to go ahead and take these courses that are going to be given by the federal government. And at this time, I'd like to introduce the Director of the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Steve Wagner, to say a few words. And then after that, we'll have some words from our colleagues, and then we'll go ahead and present them with their certificate. Steve?
Thank you, Councilman. Mr. President, members of the Council, I'm extremely gratified by your consideration of this resolution designating the Rescue and Restore campaign, but more, I'm extremely grateful to you for the City of Los Angeles' willingness to take leadership on this issue of modern-day slavery. That's what human trafficking really is. The bad news is that it occurs here. The bad news is that victims of human trafficking will not self-report the crime being perpetrated against them. They are like victims of domestic violence going back 30 years, or perhaps victims of child abuse today. We have to go out and aggressively find these victims of human trafficking. The good news is that people in our community are encountering victims of human trafficking on a daily basis. They just don't realize it. If we can, through these public awareness efforts, through these trainings, make them aware of the phenomenon of human trafficking, tell them how to recognize a victim of human trafficking, tell them what to do when they find a victim of human trafficking, I am confident that we really can abolish trafficking from the City of Los Angeles. The collaboration that we envisioned and are announcing today between the federal government and the City of Los Angeles is unparalleled in any other metropolitan area. I'm extremely grateful to you for this opportunity to collaborate and for the fact that you're willing to create a national model that we look forward to taking to other cities to announce Los Angeles' success in eliminating human trafficking from the city. Thank you.
Thank you. Before we take it to some of our council members who'd like to say a few words, I have to give a special thanks to the African Community Resource Center and their very courageous survivors, as you saw in that video, the two women who are here in Los Angeles today, because they were identified, they were helped by a Good Samaritan, by a community member, and then that's when the government and the resources agencies got involved to make sure that they can put their lives together as best they can. It took courage for them to be willing to be in that video because they want to make sure that they can do what they can so that other people do not experience that egregious, tremendous, life-changing experience that they've experienced. And thank God for the organizations like the African Community Resource Center who was there to assist them. So, Mr. President, while our council members say a few words, I'd like all of the people who are here to please gather behind Steve and to show our willingness to come together. If you're from a department that has signed up, if you're with a community organization, please come forward. Let's fill the aisle so that we can demonstrate how we are working together as a community in its entirety, men, women, heads of departments, workers, all of us together, human resources organizations, not-for-profits, coming together to say, we are here for you, we are here with you like never before, and this is going to go on into perpetuity or until we eradicate this activity of human trafficking, human modern-day slavery. Thank you, Mr. President.
I know several council members also want to make some remarks, beginning with Mr. Rosendahl.
Yes, Mr. President, I rise to not only support my colleague Tony Cardenas, but to be 100% in favor of this. First of all, there's many ways to look at this. Los Angeles region, 15 million of us, are the blender and the microcosm of the earth. We have in our area significant numbers of people from all over the earth, and we are the model of how a democracy can work for the planet. So if we can develop this project here, it will spread like wildfire all over the nation. Secondly, I am chair of Education and Neighborhood Council Committee. I want to take this before the neighborhood councils. I think this training module that you'll develop here in the city should be a training module for all Los Angeles citizens. Neighborhood councils are a grassroots expression of people involvement, and I think we can identify within ourselves the sense of community. When we saw the sweatshop business with El Monte, that was just the tip of the iceberg. And I think what you're doing for us is not only awareness, but empowerment to community people. We cannot tolerate this kind of behavior if we claim to be a democracy. And I say to all my friends in the Palisades and in Mar Vista and throughout my district, if you're in doing any of this, we're going to get you, because this is completely against what we stand for as a great country. Human slavery should not exist, and we will use our neighborhood councils as a method to get the message out. Thank you, Tony, for putting this together.
Thank you very much.
Mr.
Weiss.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. Cardenas, I really appreciate what you're doing here. And I want to let you know that coincidentally today, we have on the council agenda a friend of mine, Chancy Martorell, who's been nominated for a commission appointment by our mayor. And as all of you who are here today know, but I just want to share it with everybody else who's here because I have a personal relationship with her. It is really due to Chancy, above and beyond all the other folks who were involved, that we had the opportunity to prosecute several successful cases involving involuntary servitude at the United States Attorney's Office, involving folks from Thailand. The case in particular where I worked most closely with Chancy, I thought of it when I watched your video, Mr. Cardenas, because I don't know if you saw in the video, Mr. Zine, I don't think you saw the captain and Mr. Cardenas' staffer walking around an ordinary nondescript street in Los Angeles. The case we worked on involved an ordinary nondescript street in Woodland Hills, where the wife of a Thai diplomat managed to keep several women working in servitude against their will for a period of several years. The only reason that they're not there today is because you, Chancy, and the Thai Community Development Center gave them their only opportunity in Los Angeles to cry out and get help. You were the only place for a Thai peasant in Los Angeles to go. That's not exactly why you've been nominated for this position today, but it's a pretty good reason. So I just want to personally acknowledge the extraordinary work of Chancy Martorell and congratulate all of you for what you do.
Ms. Hahn.
Thank you, Mr. President, and thank you, Tony, for really spearheading this great task force of strength to combat this horrible problem. I was made aware of this problem in my own district in Watts about a little over a year ago when there was a, quote, safe house that was busted. Over 100 people were living in a one-bedroom home in Watts, and apparently it had been there for almost 2 years. And I think the shock for me was, one, that could exist right here in Los Angeles. And it was a shock to me that it could exist in a residential neighborhood, and that no neighbors would have ever noticed it or, you know, felt like there was anywhere to call. It was frustrating for me when I began to meet with immigration officers, custom officers, LAPD officers. We held meetings in my office to find out how we could address this issue, and to find out that sometimes we only have 20 agents in the Los Angeles County and beyond, many of them who sometimes the first call, they would be at their home, you know, in Arrowhead. They would get their call at home. By the time they got to the house, many times the people that were being held hostage had already escaped. So it was really a difficult problem to deal with this. And then to find out what do we do when we find these people, and we shouldn't treat them like criminals. We should not treat them like criminals. They are victims. There were children, there were women who had been sold into sexual slavery as a result of trying to pay off their debt, and we need to go after those who are doing this, the coyotes, you know, people that are making money on trafficking human beings, children and women. We should throw the book at them, and I really appreciate your strength together. I think together with all of our departments, with all of our neighborhood councils, that's an excellent idea, that we get people educated about this, give people safe places to call, and hopefully we can end this awful, awful practice once and for all. So thank you.
Thank you very much.
Mr. Reyes.
I just want to rise and thank you all for your hard work. Thank you, Councilman Cardenas, for bringing this forward, making this public. As a representative of one of the districts that has the highest densities, where people can actually hide and be essentially overlooked, many folks walk around feeling that they are invisible because there's no one protecting them, looking out for them. And you are one of those few individuals who are taking that task and making something that should be not even in existence in the United States a very real fact, and you're putting it in the face of the public. And you let them know that we need to ask ourselves, is this the America we want? Is this the United States that we have fought for? And if it was not for you, many of these people would continue to suffer. I want to thank you for your hard work, your relief, and your consciousness on behalf of all those who are suffering. Thank you so much.
Ms. Perry. Ms. Perry.
Like Ms. Hahn, I've had similar situations in my own district, and I appreciate the work that you do, and I'd like to know, when people see a house in the neighborhood that maybe has strange comings and goings, or noises, or irregular activity, is there an easy number to remember, or a place where we can refer them to call so that they can at least have someone come over and take a look and check it out?
There's an 800 number. Who has that number? 888-373-7888.
And do you think you could give us a flyer or something so we can put it on our website and broadcast it to our constituents?
Absolutely. We'll get that out to every council office, and we're working on getting that out to all the departments within the city as well.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Perry, for that suggestion. Thank you.
Mr. Labange.
Cardenas, thank you very much, and representative of the federal government from Health and Human Services. Is so important for everybody that ring around this whole situation, because there's nothing worse in my time when I see young people abused in the streets of my district in Hollywood when they come to this place called Hollywood. And now, because of other people who are vicious and harm people, actually pack people. I remember when Ms. Hahn brought up that issue in Watts. We're in a little house on a little street. There was 30 people combined and living, and just the horror stories. So, Mr. Cardenas, bring us to the attention and bringing everybody together, and as Mr. Rosendahl said, to educate, because every so often, there's an issue that comes up. And I see Paula there, Paula Patrana, the Denim Day and all that. And the problem I had in my district in Hyperion, where there's a guy who's probably going in and out of prison, who's harming children walking from a high school. Every so often there comes an issue, and this is a very serious issue, because there's nothing worse than to hear that someone comes to this great country and gets abused by those here, and it's just a scar on all of us. So heighten this attention is very good, and I just want to thank you all and appreciate your work and pledge my office support. And I'm sorry, Tony, I couldn't join you this morning on the steps of City Hall, but I know you got the message out. Thank you very much, Mr. President. Mr. Cardenas.
Okay, thank you. Okay, thank you. I'd like to introduce Paula Patrada, who heads the Commission on the Status of Women, to say a few words as well. As this little department, this small cluster of folks are charged with this great responsibility, and they're doing a tremendous job, and they're ready and willing to continue to do that. Paula?
Thank you, Councilmember. I just want to personally thank Councilmember Cardenas for all of his support and passion around this issue, and certainly for you council members. We have the first of its nation, I believe, a human trafficking coordinator within the Commission office who will be working closely with all of you and our 120-member coalition to get the word out about trafficking in LA. This has been a dirty secret in our city, and it's one that is no longer going to exist. And we're just really pleased that we have so many people behind us, so it's not just us doing the job, but the word is out, and our community members are out, and we are in touch with federal government. And I just want to thank this council for its commitment to combating this egregious human rights tragedy within our own city.
Thank you very much, Paula, and thank you for the tremendous work that all of you do. At this time, I'd like to call Steve back up, Steve Wagner from the Department of Health and Human Services, and thank you for bringing the Rescue and Restore campaign to the City of Los Angeles and responding to our inquiries and bringing this partnership together, because we are going to make a difference. I'm marking your words. You said the City of Los Angeles can and will be the model for the country, and that's the kind of model we want to be. We don't want to be known for the kinds of things we're ashamed of. We want to be known for the kinds of things that where human beings pour out their hearts, their time, and their energy to make sure that we eradicate this activity. And thank you so much for dedicating your resources. When they asked him earlier what size is the grant to the City of Los Angeles, he said, we have $10 million in Washington, and whatever Los Angeles needs, we will continue to give you your support. So thank you for that challenge grant to the city and the people of Los Angeles. Thank you.
Gracias.
Once again, thank you to the 22 departments who have signed up and are ready to send their staff who want to go to these classes, and the 120 organizations out there in the community who've been doing this for years and years and years, and finally you're getting the support of the City of Los Angeles, and we're ready and willing to recognize that call, and we're with you. Thank you very much.
That was a not so
Thank you, Mr. Cardenas. Colleagues, for our next presentation, let me call on Councilmember Labange. And as he makes his way to the podium, Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Cardenas, Garcetti, Gruel, Hahn, Labange, Parks, Perry, Reyes, Rosendahl, Smith, Weiss, Sine, Padilla, 11 members present, and a quorum, Mr. President.
Thank you very much. The council is officially in session.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. I'm joined by the great councilwoman of the 50th District, which is responsible for the Port of Los Angeles, and which has a great community of many communities throughout there, because someone very special to all of us in Los Angeles has completed their assignment as a Consul General for Croatia. We have the very special honor here of saluting the Consul General, Sonia Yoga, who has been so good to us in Los Angeles with film festivals, with our sister city festivals, with our hikes, with our dinners, with the importance, as we know, of just communication and talking and making people believe how great a city Los Angeles is and how great a city Split, Croatia is. So I did not want to let you get away. She's leaving today, heading east with a stop in the Midwest to meet a colleague in Chicago and then back through Germany to Croatia. So we grabbed you before you got to go because we wanted to say we love you. We love you for what you stand for. As you know, Los Angeles is passing Hong Kong as the #2 city in the world for consulates. Over 90 consulates are now in Los Angeles. That's the importance of this community, as so many people call Los Angeles their home. And so I just wanted to extend special greetings and call on my colleague, Ms. Han, to say more special greetings from the 15th.
Thank you, Mr. Labange. And today is a sad day for us to lose one of the best council generals I believe we've ever had, one of the most beautiful council generals we have ever had. Sonia has brought such a breath of fresh air to the Counselor Corps and has brought really a great reconnection for certainly the people in my council district in San Pedro, those who are of Croatian descent. And they were all so thrilled when my predecessor, Rudy Zvornic, made it happen that Split would be a sister city to Los Angeles. However, I was able to make the first official Los Angeles visit to Split a couple years ago, and Sonia was gracious enough to come with me, accompany me, and show me the beauties of Croatia and the beauties of Split. I will never forget my trip there. The people were so warm and loving, but you have done such a good thing to reconnect the people of Los Angeles, particularly the people of San Pedro, to Croatia. We will miss you. You did your job very well, and again, you're so gracious and loving, and we will miss you, but you have an open invitation to come back, and I hope you will accept us when we come back and visit your beautiful country.
Thank you so much. I'm really excited, and Mr. President and distinguished members of the City Council and all dear guests, it was my honor to work here to promote my country in California, in Los Angeles, and I really can say that I enjoyed very much my work here. This is a country of great opportunities for cooperation. I worked in many different fields, making projects in culture, field of culture, business, education, but above all, this is a country of wonderful people, very friendly atmosphere, and I am going back to my country, to Croatia, with experience, and I will share that with the people in Croatia. Above all, I would like to stress the program of sister cities. Split is a city on the Adriatic coast, and Croatia, although it is a small country, we have, as California, a very long coastal area, and I was so happy that Mrs. Han was there to meet the people, and that is the project which I believe very much in, and I will continue to support that. Also, Mr. Councilman Tom Labange, who is the president of that project, I'm very happy that I was here, that I could work with all of you, and I will be always a friend of this wonderful country and people. Thank you very much, and not only goodbye, but see you again. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. We thank you. Sonia, Janice and I wanted to give you this wonderful book, Los Angeles, Past and Present. You're right in the middle until you leave, and you're all about it. Let's give Sonia a big hand in the country of Croatia. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. Labange. Madam Clerk, I believe this concludes presentations for today. First order of business, please.
Approval of the minutes.
Mr. Labange moves, Ms. Han seconds.
Commendatory resolutions for approval.
Mr. Garcetti moves, and Mr. Zine seconds.
Mr. President, before beginning the regular agenda, there is a request to continue item number 53 to Friday, and that would be September 30th.
Any objection, colleagues? Seeing none, so ordered. Next item.
On the regular agenda, items noticed for public hearing, items 1 through 7 are street lighting ordinances.
And I do have cards on item number 5. We'll call that special. On the balance of the items, I do not have requests from members of the public to address the council. Public hearings are open and closed. If there's any requests for specials on items 1 through 7, seeing none, let's open the roll, close the roll, and tabulate the vote.
12 ayes.
Those are approved. Next items, please.
Next item, Mr. President, item number 8 is also a public hearing item, and the Building and Safety Department has requested that matter be received and filed inasmuch as the assessment has been paid.
Okay, any objection, colleagues? Seeing none, so ordered. Next items, please.
Items 9 through 13 are building and safety reports relative to liens, and there is a request on item number 11 to change the amount to $25,334.52, inasmuch as the lender has paid $10,000 of that lien.
Okay, we'll consider item number 11 as amended. Colleagues, 9 through 13 now before us. Again, I do not have requests from members of the public to address the council. Public hearings are open and closed. Any specials on 9 through 13? Seeing none, let's open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
12 ayes.
Those are approved. Next item.
Item number 14 is a public hearing item. It's an ordinance on the Chatsworth Business Improvement District.
Members 14 are before us, and I do not have requests from members of the public to address the council. On item 14, public hearings open and closed. Request to call this item special. Seeing none, let's open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
12 ayes.
That is approved. Forthwith, please. Next items.
Next items are items for which public hearings have been held, items 15 through 65, items 15 through 33 are commissioners, and there is our committee reports that have been submitted on 16, 17, and the Plum Committee. Do you wish to hold the commissioners on the
Yeah,
desk?
we're going to hold all the commissioners. We're going to call those specials. Ms. Perry?
57 and 65.
Okay, 65 called special, 57 called special by Ms. Perry. Hold on a second, hold on. So the commissioners were holding on the desk. I just want to, for the record, say the public hearing has been held on all the items through 65. So if we're going to reopen any for public hearings, we need a motion from the floor. Specials, Mr. Rosendahl? 62 and 63? Okay, 62 and 63, called special by Mr. Rosendahl. Mr. Reyes?
Yes, I'd like to receive and file numbers 16 and 25.
16 and 25, motion to receive and file, colleagues. Any objection?
Well, those are the recommendation of the committee report is
Right,
to
this
receive and file.
Upon the request of the mayor.
Okay. If there's no objection, then items 16 and 25 are received and filed. Thank you, Mr. Reyes. Mr. Parks?
Special 53, 59.
53 has been continued to Friday.
Okay, thank you.
And 59, called special by Mr. Parks.
65 special, please.
65, called special. Any other specials?
55, please.
55, called special by Mr. Garcetti. And I'll remind us when we take up 55, that is a quasi-judicial matter. Any other specials, colleagues?
Excuse me, Mr. President, just for clarification, the items called special were 55, 57, 59, 62, 63, and 65?
That is correct. Item 53 has been continued. Commissioners were holding on the desk. So it's really 34 through 65. Members, any further requests for specials? If there are none, let's open the roll on the balance of the items. Close the roll and tabulate the vote.
12 ayes.
Those items are approved. Next items, please.
Next items are items for which public hearings have not been held. Items 66 through 107, 10 votes are required for consideration. Item number 66 is confirmation of a commissioner.
Number 66 through 107, now before us. I do not have requests from members of the public to address the council on these items. Public hearings are open and closed. Ms. Perry?
105.
105, called special by Ms. Perry. Mr. Parks?
107, if we could ask that it be taken out of order, we have community people here.
Okay, 107, called special by Mr. Parks. We've now had requests to take item 107 out of order and item 65 out of order as well. Any other specials? Seeing none, on the balance of the items, Madam Clerk, please open the roll. Please close the roll and tabulate the vote.
12 ayes.
Those are approved. Next items, please.
Next items, Mr. President, 108 through 110 are closed sessions. Do you wish to hold those on the desk?
Let's hold all closed session matters on the desk.
On the continuation agenda, items 111 and 112 are items for which public hearings have been held, and item 111, there is an amending motion that has been agendized.
Members, item 11 and 112 are now before us. These have had public hearings in committee. A motion will be required to reopen the public hearings. Any requests for specials? Mr. Parks?
111.
111, call special by Mr. Parks. Leaving item 112 before us. Let's open the roll on item 112, close the roll, and tabulate the vote.
12 ayes.
That is approved. Next item, please.
Next item is item 113, and that is an item for which public hearing has not been held. 10 votes are required for consideration.
Okay. I do not have speaker cards on item 113. Public hearing is open and closed. Okay, Mr. Labange is going to call this item special. We'll wait for him to come back into chambers. Leaving item 114 before us. Let's call that special. And if that's the end of our agenda, let's come back to item number 5 and hear from Ms. Sylvia Lynn Hawkins on item number 5.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Ms. Sylvia Lynn Hawkins, and it is a great day. On number 5, we must say no. Our electricity power and maintenance department must not co-copy policies of Memphis, Tennessee, and other states. Department of Water and Power hard laws. For example, if you are leaving the east to the west or the north to the east, California Department of Water and Power and SBC phone companies cannot charge a $80 fee of extra charge to turn on your lights or phone lines, just because you are moving from state to state. As you enter another state to connect on, it is too hard on the public people as they are trying to get back on their feet. These laws are only extra taxes, surpluses, charges that shouldn't be added on to your bill. Therefore, we are against any extra charges just because a person is moving from state to state. And now in order to connect on your lights, you must pay a fee. That is too hard for any state. I'm not just taking up for California, but I'm taking up for all 58 states. Thank you very much. Ms. Sylvia Lynn Hawkins.
Thank you, Ms. Hawkins. Madam Clerk, I think we're going to take item number 114 out of order. Thank you. We'll vote on 5 first. Colleagues, item number 5 is before us. Madam Clerk, open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the votes.
12 ayes.
Thank you. That item is approved. I'd like to acknowledge item number 114. Madam Clerk, Councilmember Padilla would like to speak.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Colleagues, no, it's a busy day. We've had a couple presentations, and we have some commission nominees waiting for confirmation, but I thought it appropriate to take item 114 out of order. If you'll indulge us on behalf of Councilmember Grewal and myself, item 114 is agendized for today's meeting, continued from yesterday's meeting, a closed session item that I think we're ready for a public action on. Members? I'd like to move that we appoint Jerry Miller as the permanent Chief Legislative Analyst for the City of Los Angeles. And if Mr. Miller is here, maybe have him come forward. And afford him a couple of minutes to just share with us his thoughts after this experience of interviews and deliberations. He certainly has a number of years of experience with the city, both within the CLA's office and within other departments and offices as well. And we also recognize we're in a new day here in the city of Los Angeles with the term-limited council. So quite a challenge before you, Mr. Miller. A few remarks, please.
Well, thank you very much. I will be very brief. I have to tell you that I am truly thrilled to be here today. And I'd like to start off by commending my staff. As always, over the last 10 months, they have been the most dedicated and professional staff that you could imagine. They have been terrific. I hope they've been serving you well, and I pledge that my staff and I will redouble our efforts and continue to serve you well in the future. The business before the council is vitally important and essential, and I am, and if the vote goes as I hope it will, I am truly thrilled that you trust me to work with you to help you get your agenda done.
Great. Well, thank you. And Jerry, really, we appreciate everything you've done for the city up until now. Bigger challenges do await, and we're just as committed as you are to working with us, to working with you and the rest of the CLA's office. So congratulations. And I think I have a hunch as to how the vote's going to go.
Thank you, Mr. Padilla, and thank you, Mr. Miller. Alex and I had the pleasure of calling him last night to give him the good word, and I think there was a 15-second pause. I said, "Are you still standing, Jerry?" So congratulations as well. Colleagues, that item is now before us. Madam Clerk, open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the votes.
12 ayes.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Madam Clerk, next order of business.
Next item, Madam President of the Commissioners, item number 15 is confirmation of Mr. Rod Lane to the Disabled Access Commission.
Yes, Mr. Lane. Good morning. You'll get hugs after us, too.
I look forward to that.
Colleagues, that item is now before us. Mr. Lane, would you like to say a few brief words before we move for confirmation?
Just that I look very much forward to serving on the Disabled Access Compliance Commission and to apply the codes strongly and fairly.
Great, thank you. Well, we look forward to your service. Colleagues, that item, Councilmember LaBonge.
Mr. Lane came before our committee and did a wonderful job. He's excited about this role, which is so important to have as a commissioner, to be excited. Mr. Garcetti and I, along unanimous, so we recommend this highly. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you, Mr. LaBonge. Colleagues, that item is now before us. Madam Clerk, open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the votes.
12 ayes.
That item's been approved. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Next item.
Next item is item number 17, and that's confirmation of Ms. Christina Noonan to the Board of LA Convention Center Commissioners.
Ms. Noonan?
Yeah, Ms. Newton was in committee yesterday. She did a wonderful job. She's very dedicated, very poised, got great expertise, and she asked to be excused from this, but Mr. Garcetti and I strongly recommend this, Commissioner. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Labange. Colleagues, that item is now before us. Oh, Mr. Parks, did you? No, next one.
Vote, I have a question.
Okay. That item is before us. Madam Clerk, open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the votes.
12 ayes.
That's item been approved. Mr. Parks, you had a quick question?
Just had a request that we take 107 out of order. We have a community person here that's son was a victim of a homicide. If we could, she has a schedule that we can.
Okay, if there's no one who wants to challenge that, we'll have item number 107 before us now. Mr. Parks.
Can we have Mrs. Lorraine Moreland come up? Colleagues, we have all too often a reward motion on an incident that, although dated, and it's something in which we're attempting to revitalize the investigation, occurred on December 7, 2001. Mark Antoine Flowers, 28-year-old security guard in the Crenshaw area, was fatally wounded at 3504 West Slauson Avenue as a result of gunshot wounds by an unidentified suspect. We asked Ms. Moreland to come forward today and make that plea to the public for assistance to assist 77th homicide detectives in solving this crime. Ms. Moreland.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Lorraine Moreland. My son, Mark Flowers, was murdered here in Los Angeles on December 7, 2001. To this date, my son's murder is unsolved. To this date, there has been no investigation. To this date, inaccurate assumption revealed on report documents stating that murder was gang-related. My son was not a member of a gang, not then, not ever. So it is with this honor that I am truly honored and privileged to speak before you today. I thank you for the opportunity, and I trust that this meeting will make a first step towards closure. Here's my story. On December 7, 2001, on the corner of Crenshaw, Slauson and Bryanhurst, a car pulled up, and a boy got out and started shooting. My son was caught in the crossfire. He was on his way to his grandmother's house and had stopped just briefly to talk to old acquaintance. To my horror, I was never notified that my son was shot, and afterward there had never been any effect to find his killer. My son was very kind, caring, very close to our family. He was a high school graduate, was voted MVP for basketball at Rowland Heights, and had jobs of security jobs and helping disabled children at the time of his death. I hope and I pray that you can help me and other mothers like me find justice in the loss of our loved ones. The report described the murder as gang-related accident, or some kind of opposing of gang members. But my son was just a young black male, and checking the facts or providing closure to a family now obsolete. It has been 4 years now.
Thank you, Ms. Moreland. Colleagues, I'd ask that we give a unanimous vote on this $50,000 reward motion. Also for the public, anyone that has any information regarding this incident, December 7, 2001 at 3504 West Slauson Avenue, we'd ask you call Detective Escobar at 213-485-1385. Thank you, Ms. Moreland.
Thank you, Mr. Parks. Thank you, ma'am. Our thoughts are with you. Colleagues, that item is now before us. Madam Clerk, open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the votes.
12 ayes.
Thank you. Madam Clerk?
Next item, Madam President, there's been a request to take item number 65 out of order, and that was called special by Ms. Perry, and I believe Mr. Reyes also.
And we do have 3 cards on this item.
Thank you, Madam President. We can hear the speakers first.
Sure. I'd like to ask Shelley Backlar, Larry Johnson, and Leon Ferranique to come up to the podium.
morning. My name is Shelley Backlar. I'm the Executive Director for Friends of Los Angeles River. I'm here to talk about the results of a unique effort that I've been a part of as the Plastics Task Force, a combination of city employees, non-government organizations, and the plastics industry to come up with ideas and solutions to the problems of trash and polystyrene in our Los Angeles River. With so much wonderful attention focused toward the revitalization of our river, it's imperative that we also, when we're looking at the river as a destination, we make sure that we clean up the mess that permeates through our storm drains. I'm really happy to be standing here with these two gentlemen who are members of the plastics industry, because in our second meeting of the Plastics Task Force, we were able to come up with a program to try to recycle plastic bags that were pulled from the Los Angeles River during our annual cleanup. It took 3 conference calls, 20 minutes long, 2 weeks before this huge event to put this program together. We had the support of city staff, we had sanitation, we had a phone tree to talk about what's going on at this site, what's going on at that site. Unfortunately, we discovered that because the plastic bags become so entangled in the river, it was difficult and almost impossible to do. However, within that effort, we have learned about the market for recycling plastic bags. We've learned ways to affect behavior in terms of asking for fewer bags. And so I stand here to say that I hope that you will take this into consideration. Thank you.
My name is Larry Johnson. I represent the plastic bag manufacturers. I would like to commend Councilman Reyes and his staff for allowing the industry to join into this task force and to become a part of an effort to resolve the issues that stood before this task force. The level of cooperation, the level of openness that was apparent from day one allowed us to work together to proceed in an orderly manner to reach, I believe, conclusions that are the first of its kind in regards to industry cooperating with environmental groups and with the city to resolve the problem that we have here in Los Angeles. We recognize as an industry that we certainly are a part of that problem, and we believe that we have come up with some solutions through this effort that will resolve the problems and hopefully even extend a satisfactory solution to the overall litter issues that the city faces. We look forward to incorporating the recommendations that are being put forth and moving in a very aggressive manner to get those instituted and to have successful results from this overall program. Again, my thanks to Lupe and her staff for creating an environment that allowed us to come in here and be a part of a solution rather than being adversaries. It's a unique situation and one that we continue to look forward to supporting in the future. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I'd now like to recognize Mr. Reyes, I think followed by Ms. Perry and then Mr. Garcetti.
Thank you very much, Madam President. I do want to stand and thank our visitors here, Mr. Johnson, Leon Fernick, and Shelley Backlar. We lost Laurie Johnson from Progressive Bag Alliance. I thank you, Council President, for bringing this up a little bit earlier. We have folks like Nicole Possard from the consultant for Bureau of Sanitation, Gilbert Canizales, the California Grocers Association, and Andrew Casana, the California Restaurant Association. Councilmember Perry, my colleagues in the Ad Hoc River Committee, their staff have been working together to form this incredible opportunity. Today's action gives direction to the CAO and the CLA and I'm moving Section A and not B of item 65. It gives clear instructions to put together the type of entity that allow us to identify how these resources could be moved. Our objective is to promote programs like Adopt the River program that will help us look at all the hot spots where all the trash builds up. We're looking at how we can enhance our marketing of recycling plastic bags so we can take what I like to call the graffiti of the Alley River out of the river, given all the plastic, styrofoam, and plastic goods that find themselves in the riverway. This will help us get to a point where we can meet our federal mandate of cleaning our waterways, cleaning the oceans in time so that our what's called the total maximum daily loads, or TMDLs, can decrease and make truly the river a place people want to visit. With the trash and the smell and all the debris that's in there, it's not very inviting. And as we move closer to changing the physical look, we first must address the trash and the debris, and with the plastic bag industry and the cooperation with the city family, I believe we can achieve this. So thank you so much for being here, and your participation has been exemplary. It's a way other industries should be responding when it comes to these issues of our environment, and you stepped up to the plate. Let's continue working together. Thank you so much, and I must say thank you to Lupe Vela, Joe Soriel, and everyone on our crew that's making this happen. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Ms. Perry.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and I also wanted to applaud the efforts of the task force and the city staff and the industry folks for working together for the common goal. And just to highlight again what Mr. Reyes said and to reinforce that, what I'd like to know, and I don't know if there's anybody here from the city, sanitation or street services. Is there anybody here? Oh, I guess not. Okay. Well, we can work through this on committee, but I want to talk about making sure that we have scheduled regular cleanups of the storm drains. Somebody's here. Okay, great.
Thank you.
Whether or not we need to have a coordinated effort. Have you been able to schedule or set up a schedule for regular cleanup of the storm drains? And if not, do we need to work through this in committee and coordinate a regular schedule for citywide cleanups?
Good morning, Steve Decado, Bureau of Sanitation. Regular maintenance of our storm drains is part of our wastewater collection systems division's regular program as far as the catch basins. We do have a program where we do try to assess the conditions of our storm drains, and when we do find that we do have drains that need cleaning or servicing, those are included as part of the work program. As far as the cleaning of the streets themselves, that is something that we'll be coordinating with the Bureau of Street Services as part of their street maintenance activities.
Okay, well, maybe what I can do, and I'll work with Mr. Reyes on this, is to get your calendar for the upcoming year so that we can, make sure and monitor and work with you to make sure that we're able to get it done on time. Okay?
Yes, absolutely.
Thank you, Ms. Perry. Mr. Garcetti.
Thank you very much, Madam President. Congratulations, Councilmember Reyes, on your staff as well for working on this. I'm going to be very blunt that sometimes the business community, in some efforts we do, seeks to paint us as anti-business, which I think is unfair because there are solutions that are pro-social good and pro-business at the same time. And you've shown that, Ed, and I think you're that kind of a leader. And I just wanted to call this out to highlight that and to thank you for that work. I was glad to come to one of those meetings and to see that and to think through with the industry. Obviously, we're prepared to get the social good however we need to do it, but when you have an industry that's willing to work with you, it makes it a lot easier not to have to go to something more extreme. And now when we look throughout Los Angeles, and each one of you in this room should publicize and tell everybody you know that you can put your plastic bags into the blue bins now. You can put your plastic bags into the blue bins and just get that word out there. I know Mr. Reyes and your staff is going to do continuing work with that and the Board of Public Works to get that word out there, but it'll go a long way when we have those long discussions about landfilling to actually making a dent when people think we can't. We actually can through a combination of behavior, working with industry, and making sure that we take care of the environment. So congratulations again, Mr. Reyes, and congratulations to the task force.
Thank you, Mr. Garcetti. Mr. Reyes.
I just wanted to reaffirm that once we have the recommendations back from the CAO and the CLA and the City Attorney's Office of the mechanism we'll be using. We'll have all of the appropriate public relations, press conferences announcing the great work from the plastic industry, the city family, and the nonprofit community sector, as well as my colleagues who've been very supportive of this process. Ms. Perry through the Environmental Quality Committee, Councilmember Garcetti to support the ad hoc waiver, Councilmember Labange and Councilmember Gruel, creating this focus. So I'm glad we don't have to work with a heavy hammer of taxing industry. Instead, we're talking about how we can work cooperatively to make this greater good happen. So again, thank you very much. There's more to come once we get those recommendations back, and we'll move forward in a very positive way. And thank you very much. I encourage an aye vote.
Thank you, Mr. Reyes, and your leadership on this issue and the entire River Committee. Colleagues, that item is now before us. Open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the votes.
12 ayes.
That item has been approved. Thank you for all of your leadership. We are, colleagues, on item number 55. Mr. Garcetti indicated our zoning administrator needs to make a comment, then we will hold that item on the desk and go back to our commissioners.
Thank you very much, Madam President. I know a lot of you are here on item 55, and it is a little unorthodox, but what we're going to do, because of a previous appointment that the zoning administrator has, and ask Mr. Green to come forward, say some things for the record on that. We're going to go through the nominations that we have here for our commissions, and then we will return, including public comment for the cards that have been submitted on 55. So we appreciate your understanding with that, and I'll just turn it over to Mr. Green to kind of detail this case and where we're at. Thank you.
Thank you, Council Member. For the record, Daniel Green, I'm a zoning administrator with the City Planning Department. I conducted a hearing on this application for alcohol sales and public dancing at the Vogue Theater. It's been vacant for several years, and the applicant seeks to reopen it for the purpose of restaurant, movies, plays, seminars, and overall just multiple kinds of uses at this facility. The major problem with the application is the lack of parking. There's no parking on site. The applicant has indicated at the hearing that there would be a capacity in this facility of 626 people, and has proposed parking at 2 different parking lots. Those parking lots are not within walking distance, require valets, and it, in my opinion, is not a workable solution. There is no valet plan at the moment, and it doesn't seem logical to me that you could get 600 people in and out of the building efficiently. This is located on Hollywood Boulevard, and as many of you know, on a Friday or Saturday night, it's very difficult for traffic to move in either direction, let alone cross Hollywood Boulevard. There were many people who spoke at the hearing in opposition, and at this time, the Neighborhood Council is not in support of the request. I had held the record open 7 months so that the applicant could provide competent parking with a plan to shuttle people back and forth, and at the end of the hearing process, a new parking lot had been proposed across the street, which sounded very good, but that apparently is going to be the site of a new development project, and that parking lot won't be available. There are other uses that the building can be put to, so it's not as though the building has to remain vacant by any means, but I think this proposal, while noble in its intent, is impractical in its ability to handle the traffic that will be associated with it. So I had denied the request. On appeal, the Area Planning Commission approved it, and now it's before you once again.
Thank you very much for that presentation. Mr. Garcetti will now hold that item on the desk. We do have public speaking cards. We'll come back to that momentarily. Madam Clerk, next order of business. And just, I'm sorry, I make an announcement that the clerk mentioned all items today will be going forthwith to the mayor due to the recess next week. Thank you, Madam Clerk.
Next item, Madam President, item number 18, and that is confirmation of Ms. Diane Middleton to the Board of Neighborhood Commissioners.
Good morning, members of the council.
Good morning. Ms. Hahn.
I'm very pleased to stand here and endorse enthusiastically the appointment of Diane Middleton to the Commission for the Department of Neighborhood Empowerment. And before I say anything else, Diane, this would be a great opportunity because I think you bring a very unique perspective. I think you bring a very unique recent experience, and I think you bring a different angle, perhaps, to neighborhood councils and to their outreach efforts, their missions, and maybe a great opportunity for you to talk about where you see neighborhood councils moving in the future. We've spent the last 3 years really certifying neighborhood councils. Many of them have gone through frustration about jurisdiction and elections, and I know you had a recent experience. It might be interesting to hear your perspective on what they might do better, how they could probably be a lot more empowered, which is the original mission of the city charter, is really to empower neighborhoods through neighborhood councils. So I'd love to hear you talk about that a little bit, and then I'll say a few more words.
Okay. Thank you, Councilwoman Han. I think it's an interesting time for neighborhood councils in terms of what their mission really is. And I have much to learn about it, and I'm looking forward to doing it with my fellow commissioners. But for openers, I believe that the neighborhood councils have to be bringing City Hall down to the local level. And in order to do that, there are 2 or 3 concepts I think are key. The first is the definition of stakeholder, which I would say is anyone who lives, works, owns property, or has substantial ties to that particular neighborhood. But more than that, I think it's a question of not just taking the issues that relate to that neighborhood, but also, I believe the Board of Neighborhood Commissioners has a role to play, along with the council and other folks, of educating the people in our communities about what LA is going to be in the 21st century. I've sat here, I've listened to the presentations, and it's wonderful to think that this is what our city is. But we need to bring that down to the local level. I believe we need to fight NIMBYism. When we talk about diversity and inclusion, we need to talk about LA as a city for all of its citizens, that responds to the needs of all of its citizens, and that empowers all of them. I see myself as a community organizer, and I know the way to organize people is to cut them into the action, to make them feel that they can be heard, and that they have the opportunity to make a difference. And if we do that, we'll have good people running for neighborhood council, they'll be going to the meetings, and you'll be hearing from them. That's what I hope we can accomplish.
Thank you. I think that's absolutely, certainly where I believe we can truly empower neighborhoods, and I look forward to your leadership on this commission. Members, if you have an opportunity, you should read Diane's resume. It's fascinating. She has a just incredible background in history, but more than anything, Diane Middleton has been a member of our community. She really has been there working on behalf of organized labor, working on behalf of people in San Pedro, really being a voice of change. I first met Diane, or first came to know Diane, when we were both running for the same office, and that was this city council office. That was in 1993. We both lost. So, but I found her to be articulate, intelligent, a formidable opponent. I was always scared to go up at a debate against Diane Middleton. But I have since come to know her as a friend and an extremely caring woman who really believes in inclusion, really believes in empowering people. And you're absolutely right, and we need to do a better job of bringing government to the people, and hopefully through your leadership on this, neighborhood councils will begin to continue. They're taking baby steps, they're crawling, they're walking, and hopefully under your leadership, they'll really begin to be empowered and be all that they can be. I really think this was a great appointment that the mayor made, and I think you'll be excellent on this commission.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Han. Followed by Councilmember Rosendahl and Mr. Zine.
Thank you, Madam President. And I am smiling with Councilwoman Janice Hahn. You didn't come before the committee. You had a previous commitment. And Janice, who's on the committee, and I'm chair of the committee, spoke volumes that you guys were opponents in a race. And for her to speak so highly of you, as she just did on the council floor, really speaks to who you are. So I am absolutely delighted that you'll be on this commission. The Venice Neighborhood Council had another election. 1,200 people showed up, and they've just been certified. So I want to congratulate Venice for turning out and creating a good neighborhood council. Tell me again, when you talk about your definition of stakeholders, would it include undocumented immigrants? Would it include a construction worker who's at a big industrial site? How do you broaden it, be inclusionary, and also be fair?
I think the question of undocumented workers is a very serious one for everybody to look at, as I know the City Council has grappled with it. In terms of the LA of the 21st century. My definition is real simple. If someone is living here, if they're working here, if they're contributing to the society, if their kids are in school here, why shouldn't they have a voice? We want to include people. We want them to be heard. We want to encourage them to do more, to make this a better city. And that means we need to listen to them. So yes, I believe they should participate.
Reaching the people is key for government. We are servants of all the people, and getting information and empowering our community is critical. I look forward to your leadership on emergency preparedness issues. I want our neighborhood councils to be the first responder to community people in being prepared. I look to our neighborhood councils being the first step for developers to talk about planning 101. I want them inclusionary and empowered on that. I want them to participate in putting on those bus stops and those other things that Viacom is working with us. I want their interest and involvement. Can I count on you empowering those councils so that they can become an effective part of the democracy outreach?
Well, Councilman, when you talk about emergency preparedness, as near as I can see, we have lots and lots of hands in that pot already, and I don't know what the neighborhood councils could contribute, but certainly as a member of the Board of Commissioners, I would want to listen to what the concerns of any of the council members are, see if the neighborhood councils have a role to play, and absolutely address it. And also on the last question, I did not address your inquiry about construction workers, and I didn't want to by any means neglect that question. I think what we have to look for in neighborhood council elections is fundamental fairness. If there is a worker who lives in that community and they're a homeowner, well, they're wearing two hats. If they're a homeowner but they work there, well, they're workers, but certainly they have the right to be heard, like anyone else who lives there. If, on the other hand, we're talking about someone who has very, very transient limited contacts with the neighborhood, well, then we'd have to look at, should they be given the same weight as someone who's there all the time and who will be directly impacted? So I'd look at impact. I'd look at history and ties and all of those things and try to fashion something that was fair.
One thing I'd like you to look into, and I will be looking into it as well, are renters. In my particular district, 58% of the people are renters, and throughout the city, they're the least represented within neighborhood councils. If you're a homeowner or a condo owner, you tend to be more participatory. If you're a business owner, if you're a property owner. But the renters, which make up the majority, at least in my district, are underrepresented in neighborhood councils. Will you look at that on how we can bring them into the process?
Absolutely. I share that concern that people not be given extra weight by virtue of owning property, because we know that's more and more difficult for the people of LA to do. So I too want to emphasize participation by all the various sectors of society, and when we talk about diversity, one of the biggest questions to me is economic diversity. Let's get the people at the bottom voicing their concerns.
Thank you very much. I look forward to my colleagues and I confirming you today. Congratulations for stepping up to the plate.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Rosendahl. Councilmember Zine.
Thank you. In about 5 minutes, it's good afternoon. We met a long time ago.
I remember.
I don't know where, but I remember a long time ago. There's another lady who's going to be sitting on that commission with you who also ran for public office out in my district, Sheila Berman. She's also been confirmed for that neighborhood council. So you definitely, both of you, have a great concern for the city of Los Angeles. I would just say that the problems I've seen, and Janice and I were both on Charter Commission, and thought that neighborhood councils would really work well for the communities. Some of them, there's been nothing but fights. We had to bring in Rabbi Freeling to try and bring some civility to some of the neighborhood councils because of the infighting. And I just bring that to your attention, that we had the anticipation and the understanding that it would be all-inclusive. Everyone would work together, work with the elective offices, and make a better community. That was the goal. And unfortunately, in some of the communities in Los Angeles, it hasn't worked out that way. So I know they'll appeal. Sometimes they try to appeal to the council. We send it to the group that you're going to be joining, the commission, to try and sort those issues out. But Rabbi Freeling's been very helpful in trying to bring civility, and this body of 15, which have different opinions, different backgrounds. I know you came from Detroit to Los Angeles. Some of us are natives. Wherever we came from, the fact is we're here, and we thought that everyone would work for that same common goal. That, to me, has been the biggest problem that we've had, not with all, but with some of the neighborhood councils that have gone through this crisis and trying to sort them out because of egos, personalities, whatever you want to say, within the individual organization. So I wish you well with it. I know that you'll do well with it. You've got a long history in Los Angeles, and from San Pedro to the Valley and everything else. It's all about community and empowering those committees. So I wish you well in that endeavor, Diane.
Thank you, Councilman.
Thank you, Mr. Zine. And Diane, also, we and I have had the pleasure of working together when you were on the Housing Authority Commission. And so it's clear today by the conversation, your commitment to neighborhood councils, which are a critical component of the city. So thank you. We're now going to open the roll. Colleagues, close the roll, tabulate the votes.
11 ayes.
Congratulations, that item's been approved. That's item number 59. Colleagues, that item with the amending motion. Mr. Parks, would you like to?
On 59?
Yes, I think you also called it special.
Yeah, we've received the information. We can move that.
Okay. Move that with the amending motion, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. That item is now before us, colleagues. Mr. Zine?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just wanted to illustrate on this particular matter that, and Betty Fisher was here earlier from Haven Hills Battered Women's Shelter, that there was administrative cost to run the program, which we questioned, and those administrative costs have been reduced by $30,000 from $50,000 down to $20,000, and that money is going to be used to continue funding additional programs. So we were able to reduce the administrative cost, which in public safety we questioned why it was so expensive to run the programs under the grant. And I want to acknowledge Criminal Justice and Planning of the Mayor's Office that we're able to cut that down from $50,000 to run it to $20,000, where now we have $30,000 additional in funding of the program to help in this endeavor. And again, I want to acknowledge Betty Fisher from Haven Hills Battered Women's Shelter, who was here this morning but had to return to the Valley. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Zine. That item is now before us, colleagues. If we could open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the votes.
10 ayes.
That item has been approved. Madam Clerk, if we could, on item number 113, Mr. Labange indicated that that item should be received and filed, so we'll receive and file that item. Colleagues, open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the votes.
10 ayes.
Thank you. And Madam Clerk, I know the next two items, Mr. Rosendahl, are items 61 and 62.
62 and 63.
62 and 63, excuse me, 62 and 63. We are in danger of losing as a quorum, and I know you have a lot of questions on that. Would you like those items to be continued till Friday?
I only have two questions, really.
2 questions.
We could get it over with, get DOT up here.
Okay. Mr. Cardenas will give you the dirty looks there.
I'm afraid Friday is so ceremonial that we might not get that close to it.
So, colleagues, we have before us item 62.
Okay. Good afternoon. Tell me, I've been reading the status of this. As we all know, 18 months ago, 1 mile
of Wilshire Boulevard between Centinela and Sawtelle was made a bus-only lane. The neighbors complained and the business people complained, but the idea was to have 15 miles of a bus lane. 18 months later, it's still just the 1 mile, which is that piece of Wilshire. I'm under a lot of pressure by my merchants to release that 1 mile unless we get the cooperation of the county and the city for the remaining 14 miles. The city of Santa Monica, the city of Beverly Hills, 3 of my colleagues here on the city council. Could you give me a quick update of that bus-only lane on Wilshire?
My name is James Okazaki, Assistant General Manager for the City of LA DOT. My understanding is that MTA has been working with both Santa Monica to the west of Centinela and to the east of Federal, the County of Los Angeles, to try to increase the length of that demonstration project. Furthermore, the City of LA has been asked by Supervisor Yaroslavsky's office to look at a segment of Wilshire between Beverly Hills at Fairfax and all the way to, Robertson to La Cienega, which is actually next to CD 5, next to Jack Weiss's district, and also within Jack's district, Councilman Weiss's district, between La Cienega and Fairfax, to see if those lanes could be converted. So my staff is collecting data. Within the city portion, the Santa Monica and the county portion, I understand the discussions are going on, but my understanding right now at this time is that they have not committed. But MTA representatives are here to give us an update but I do not know what their commitment is.
Are they here right now, MTA?
Yes, they are.
Could they come up just for one question for them? The point I'm getting at is this. Talk is cheap. 18 months, and my people are in gridlock, my merchants are suffering. If we do a 15-mile bus only, I'm for it. I don't want any more talk. I want deadlines and timetables. I've said to the county supervisor he has until the 6th of October, and I've also said to the mayor of Los Angeles, where are we with my colleagues? We need to get some answer. Come on up on the table for one quick second, MTA, and tell us where we are, the status. And if you can't give me all the right answers, within a week I want to have a definite timetable so that people can understand. I want to hear from Councilman Labange what he thinks about it as well. Hi, MTA. Where are we?
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Jody Litvak. I'm Community Relations Manager for MTA in the West Side Central area.
Where are you going?
6 months after the bus-only lane in West Los Angeles was started, our board evaluated and asked us to start working on extending that. We have been working with the County of Los Angeles. Initially, it was our hope that we could do that as we did in West LA, simply with paint and signs. The situation on the part of Wilshire that goes through the federal property is a little more complicated than that. We do have plans which will allow us to make some mixed flow improvements in that area this fiscal year and to complete some preliminary engineering to be able to put in the extension of the bus-only lane in the county portion of the property in the next fiscal year, because it will take it's a little more complicated than
Then why don't
West LA.
I release my mile so that my folks aren't inundated, and when you all get your act together and get 15 miles, then we'll bring it back so we can have a seamless opportunity and save a half an hour in drive time. What about that?
That's a decision for the city to make, what it wants to do. I don't know. I can't speak for our board members if they would be willing to expend MTA funds if the West LA portion of Wilshire were to go away. I don't know.
1 mile of 15 miles doesn't work for me. If you told me 14 other miles, combination of our great city and the great county and Santa Monica and Beverly Hills, I obviously would appreciate it. But it's 18 months that we've had that one bus-only mile within 15 miles. Am I right?
That is correct.
Okay. Mr. Labange, would you react to the part of Wilshire?
Mr.
But
LaBonge
I want the president to recognize me. That's
has pressed
protocol.
his button, so if you're finished, Mr. Rosendahl, we will go to Mr. LaBonge. Do you have any other
Well,
questions?
my final comment will be is that this is just a note and file, and I wanted to make it very clear that unless I see some clarity on a timetable that gives relief to all of us who want a bus lane, I'm going to withdraw that mile because talk is cheap, and my people are fed up with just 1 mile of 15 miles being a bus-only lane. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Rosendahl. Mr.
I stand to
LaBonge.
support Mr. Rosendahl. I thank you, and to our friends from the MTA, to our friends from the DOT. Wilshire Boulevard between La Brea and Wilton is unusable in the curb lane. You can't even do it because the street's in horrible condition, and you haven't organized the project to get it done. To get that whole street, the buses, it's a 6-lane highway. It's what, Mr. Rosendahl, it's exactly what you would want. It's a full 6-lane road. But no one uses the curb lane because the road has been destroyed because 4,000 buses go from Los Angeles to Santa Monica and the curb lane's destroyed. So I wanted to stand to support Mr. Rosendahl. I would look at these things, and I was on the MTA board, but it's not happening. It's not happening. And it's not going to happen in the center of this 15-mile leg. James, have you seen Wilshire Boulevard?
Yes, I have.
What do you think about it?
You're absolutely right. The curb lane needs reconstruction.
It's gone. You can't use it. It's damage to city vehicles. I'm sure the city clerk, do we get claims for Wilshire Boulevard potholes? Sure they do. So, I mean, the cost of that even pays for everything. And Art, I'm glad you're back standing tall. You had a little hip injury. But you know what? Can't go forward. I support Mr. Rosendahl. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. LaBonge. Councilmember Weiss.
Thank you, Madam President. I don't understand what the dispute is because I think Mr. LaBonge, Mr. Rosendahl, and I, we all want the same thing. And the MTA, I know Supervisor Yaroslavsky wants the same thing. We want to see more of this. We want to see, I don't want to speak for you, Mr. LaBonge, but we want to see this work, right?
I want to see everything work, but I also want you to use San Vicente, which is 6 lanes in either direction. You could bypass Wilshire. And keep small merchants being merchants.
Okay. I shouldn't speak for you, so I apologize. I'll never speak for you again. You have my word on it. But I want to see it work, and I want to see it work along Wilshire. What I don't want to see us do is, and why I pushed my button, and I apologize, I only heard half of what you said, is I don't think it would be wise to pull back on this, to make any sort of threat that unless it happens within X period of time, we pull back on it on the westernmost section of the city, because once you pull something like this back, it's very hard to then put it all back together. I think we want to make it work. The MTA wants to make it work. All the other bureaucracies want to make it work. And hopefully we'll get it expanded sooner rather than later. But I just don't think the right approach is to say that if it doesn't happen by a time certain, then we pull the whole thing back, because that doesn't, that's counterproductive. I mean, people are dying in traffic right now. And we want to bring some relief to them. That'd be my only suggestion. I apologize if I misheard half of what you did say.
Our next speaker is Mr. Parks, followed by Mr. Rosendahl.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just to let you know, at MTA, Mr. Yaroslavsky put forth a motion to study that issue, and I think one of the things
Excuse me, that's a motion by Mr. Katz and Mr.
Katz.
Fleming.
I'm sorry. Katz and Fleming.
I apologize.
Okay, to study that issue. But I think even though everyone is interested in it, from my perspective, I think the 10th District, whoever that might be, may have something to say also, because they have probably some issues that deal with more narrow streets and other concerns as to whether and how that might work. And so I think those are some of the considerations that have not come forward. But that motion was put in a week ago, and that study has been asked for. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Rosendahl.
Madam President, I just want to make this point clear, and I'd like a report back in a week. If the city and the county, and the cities in the city and the county, I mean Beverly Hills and Santa Monica, had all sat at a table a couple of years ago and said, we're going to take a bus-only lane down Wilshire Boulevard, and all jurisdictions agreed, they sprung it on us, and we the people would save a half an hour, great. I think it's ridiculous that 1 mile sits there for 18 months, and all I get is talk about the rest of Wilshire Boulevard having a bus-only lane. So I'm asking you to come back with some timetables. If the county is able to say something, if MTA is able to say something, if our mayor and the council members who are part of the physicalness of it say something, I will entertain that as supportive. But if I hear more of the same talk, I am going to ask to withdraw the 1 mile until we can get our act together on the whole 15 miles so we can actually make a bus-only lane. My people in my district and my merchants along Wilshire are not going to sit there forever while everybody else talks about it and nobody else puts any more miles into it. I mean, that's where my frustration is coming from. It's 18 months since we gave you the bus-only lane, and there's no other mile or inch of any more property. So forget motions, forget conversations. I want to get some understanding if there is a timetable. If there's not, I'm going to withdraw it, and you can come back to the table when you got all 15 miles worked out so that we can actually have a solution to some of our gridlock. And so my motion, or whatever I can say here, is come back in a week with a report as to exactly timetables and deadlines, and if you can't do it, then that'll tell me enough that I need to know for my constituents.
So would you like to continue this for 1 week, Mr.
That would be
Rosendahl?
excellent.
Council's
That would
in
be
recess
great.
next week,
It'll
so
be
the
the
next date
following
would
The
be
following week would be great.
October 11th then.
October 11th. We will do that then.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Rosendahl. So that item is being continued. I'd like to, colleagues, we have a special visitor in our chambers today, Senator Tom Torlakson, who is visiting our chambers, who is Chair of Transportation and Housing, and a wonderful representative for us in the state of California. So thank you. Glad for you to be here. Thank you. Thank you. Item number 63.
Yes, Madam President, on this, I'm very delighted that DOT's worked with us on this. The community up in the Pacific Palisades have a bus, the 430 bus. They've rerouted the bus so that more passengers can get on it. And I just want to say hats off to you. How is it working with that bus? Because that's exactly part of the solution.
Absolutely. We were amazed that there has been increasing ridership from the Pacific Palisades because we routed to Loyola High School. But I want to point out, Councilman, they did it because right now we offered it a free service. So when the free coupon is out, I wonder if the parents will still give the kids money to ride the bus. So we'll see. We'll monitor it, and we'll report back to the council in 6 months.
That's a good challenge, and I appreciate the cooperation DOT did with the community, and it's working, and I'm delighted. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Rosendahl. I know we'll get a report back in 6 months on that particular item. That item is now before us. Madam Clerk, open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the votes.
10 ayes.
Next item before us. Item number 105. I think Ms. Perry had called special.
I have a request on reconsideration of 42, and if we can continue that matter, or if you want to hear it now. But it passed through, and it's a major expenditure without discussion. So I want to reconsider 42.
Item number 42. Okay, after we consider Ms. Perry's item number 105, we'll vote for reconsideration.
Mine is very quick. I just wanted to call this item special because it needs to be referred back to HCED for further review.
Great. That item now before us to be referred back to HCED. Madam Clerk, open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the votes.
10 ayes.
Item 42, Mr. Zine, is that the item you want us to reconsider? Again, based on that we have the in danger of losing a quorum, would you like to have that item reconsidered and continued?
That would be fine. The Friday
Okay.
would be fine for me.
Okay, Madam Clerk, if we could open the roll on reconsideration,
Okay.
close the roll, tabulate the votes.
10 ayes.
That item is before us. I think our recommendation would probably be to continue. We don't have representation from the city attorney's office
I don't
here.
want to take the time today, but there's many questions I have on that.
I released the attorneys on that one a couple hours ago, so
Okay, that's
just
fine.
left a message for them to return on Friday.
If we could schedule on Friday, that'd be fine.
All right, we will
Thank you.
continue that item till Friday, colleagues. Next order of business.
Next item is 111, and that was called special by Councilmember Parks.
Mr. Parks.
Which number? Or on number 111, let's see, we're going to move that with two changes or amendments.
We have a written amendment to remove item number 6 of the report, and now we have a verbal amendment to remove number 2 in the report.
Any other comments, colleagues? If not, that item is before us with those amendments. Madam Clerk, open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the votes.
10 ayes.
That item has been approved. Next order of business.
Council, this is the time for comments from the public on items not on council's agenda.
We do also have 3 closed session items. Is that correct? Yes, Mr. Zine.
Madam Chair, I have an introduction briefly,
Okay.
very briefly, if you'll please come forward. With me today is Paul Gilbert, Senior Vice President, Investments at Smith Barney, and he paid a lot of dollars to Valley Village to spend the day in council to see how we do things here in City Council. So just wanted everyone to acknowledge that he is here shadowing me in City Council, seeing us at 10 after 2. Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Zine. We're now going to take a public comment. If we could, I have someone who did not put their name, but their address is 1617 East 7th Street, number 7. Audra Gregson, Stephen Payne, and Miriam Fogler.
Hello, yes, my name is Stephen Payne.
Please go
I'm
ahead.
from 1617 East 7th Street. I just want to draw your attention to a school expansion. The school is called Para Los Niños, and they want to expand, and I'm a little concerned about this because it is right within 30 yards of a diesel maintenance repair yard for the Greyhound. And I live there, and there's so much dust and stuff that it's unhealthy, especially for children. I can choose to live there, but the children can't. And I don't think I spoke to the Air Quality Management District, and they said that there had been no reports done for the quality of the particulate matter in the air. I have some photographs that I can pass around to show you the proximity of the Greyhound maintenance yard.
Thank you very much. I think there's also an existing, high school or a continuation school there for a long, long time, right around the corner. So, Sergeant, if you could pick those up, and also after council, I'll be happy to chat with you if you'd like.
Sorry, say again?
I will be happy to chat with you to give you some guidance after council.
Great, thank you.
Thank you for your comments.
Thank you.
Miriam Folger?
Okay. My name is Audra Gregson.
Audra, you're speaking for Miriam, or Miriam's going to speak afterwards?
Should I be good?
Got it. You take your time. All right, Audrey.
I'm here also in concern of Para Los Niños and the air quality for the children in that area at 1617 East 7th Street, and hoping that we can get some air quality checked there for the benefit of the children.
Thank you so much. Council Member Perry?
Yeah, I just wanted to interject, and thanks to the two folks who came down to comment on it, and I will pursue it with the Air Quality Management District to see what mitigations we can put in place. And I'm a big advocate of relocating or moving away businesses like that when they're in such close proximity to children.
Thank you, Ms. Perry. Next, I'd like to have Miriam Folger.
Yes, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, City Council. I don't know how to find words but to say that I don't want LA to turn into another New Orleans disaster. We don't want to have another 9/11 here. So I want my police, my fire department, I want the city workers who do a very good job, who work very hard. My husband worked very hard. He's been working for the city almost 18 years. And they deserve to have the same pay as the DWP, because the DWP did something that the other unions did not approve of. After all, some of the unions signed up 2 year. saying that they cannot increase their wages or, and protecting their jobs from being privatized. We don't want our people to have a high turnover of people. Then we have, people not knowing one another to work together to be able to keep our city working more efficiently. So we need to have efficient government here working with our city to keep our city safe. And our police officers, our fire, they work very hard on our streets. And the people in the city working for the city here, they work very hard as well. And they deserve the same merit as these DWP. Protect themselves from privatization and decent wages. This is the middle class. This is the heart of the whole country right here. And I don't want the same thing happening to our city that happened to New Orleans and New York.
Thank you.
I really thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Have all speakers under general public comment had an opportunity to speak? That's the case, and this concludes general public comment for today's meeting. Madam Clerk, next item, please.
Mr. President, do you wish to clear the desk before going into closed session?
Let's do housekeeping.
Council has motions for posting and referral.
Motion shall be posted and referred.
There's an excuse on the desk. Councilmember Rosendahl requests to be excused Tuesday, November 1st for city business that meets council policy.
Mr. Rosendahl is excused.
And that clears the desk for a closed session.
Okay. Ms. Perry, did you wish to be recognized? No?
I think I took care of all my items.
Okay.
Am I missing something?
No, you pressed your button.
The button didn't clear out.
Okay. Any other announcements before going into closed session? Seeing none, then in conformance with California law, the council will now adjourn into closed session. Sergeants, please clear the chambers. Welcome back. Just for the record and for members of the public, the council is now adjourning due to losing a quorum. So the matters that were remaining to be acted upon today carry over to our council meeting on Friday. Any final announcements before we sign off for today? Mr. Rosendahl?
Yes, Mr. President. Education and Neighborhoods Committee meeting will meet in 10 minutes in room 1060 in the building.
Great. Folks waiting to follow the committee's deliberations, please be apprised. And if there's nothing further, this meeting is adjourned.